Hello, my name is Charity Woodruff, and I'm a 6th grade student at Clarksdale Maddox School in Mobile, Alabama. Today I'm going to be interviewing my mom about how my grandfather came from Pennsylvania to Mobile and how he met my grandmother. What is your name?
Samantha Woodruff.
What was your dad's name?
Willis Glenn Wyan.
What was your mom's name?
Patsy Louise Mooneyham.
Where did they come from?
My dad is a native of Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, and my mother is a native of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
How did they meet?
My dad was in the military, in the Air Force. He was a policeman in the Air Force, and he used to be stationed at Brookley Field here in Mobile. They met at a party that they had for the military men on base, and she was only 15.
Where did they meet?
They met here in Mobile at Brookley Field.
When did they get married?
They got married in 1953, October of 1953.
Where did they get married?
They got married here in Mobile, Alabama.
Explain why your father moved to Mobile.
Well, like I said, my father was in the military. He was the military police for the Air Force. He joined the military when he was 15 years old. He forged his mom and dad's signature so that he could go into the service early. He had been stationed in Anchorage, Alaska, and Seattle, Washington, and they came to Brookley Field for a short term, and that's how he met my mom at one of the parties that they were having for the servicemen there.
Did he quit the Air Force when he married your mother?
He got out of the Air Force before they were married. He had served his 4 years, and then he decided to come out of the military.
What were your parents like?
Well, my dad had always been a quiet, reserved man, a man of few words, but when he did speak, people listened to him. My mother was a hardworking woman. She was a dental assistant at a local dentist here in Mobile, Alabama.
Read one of the love letters your dad wrote to your mom.
Well, when he was in the military, like I said, he was stationed in Anchorage, Alaska. So this letter is from November the 26th, 1951. And if you see, the paper is very different back then. It's very thin, and the envelopes were quite different. They had to be delivered by airmail. In this particular letter, he says, "Hi, sweet. Thought I would drop you a few lines to let you know that I still love you and miss you very much. I just came from the movies with some of the other fellas, and I couldn't find anything else to do until bedtime, so I thought I might write you a letter. It may not be much, but I'll find something to say. It's been tough up here in Alaska with all the attacks, but I hope you are doing fine there. I think I might be able to get 30 days leave off on February the 15th. And I was just wondering if we could go ahead and get married instead of waiting until you get out of school, if that's okay with your mom and your dad. I guess, though, that wouldn't be such a good idea, would it? I wasn't so horribly bad that I cannot wait a few more months before we can see each other and be together. I know that it's impatient to think that we should get married a couple of months from now, but I can dream, can't I? Well, sugar, I guess I will go and close for now. Talk to you soon. Love, Glenn."
How many siblings did you have? What were their names?
Well, after my mom and dad were married, they had 5 children. I had 3 sisters and 1 brother. My oldest sister's name was Sherry. Then I had a sister named Sheila. And then after Sheila, my mother had a baby boy who died 3 days later. But he was named after my father and my grandfather, and his name was Michael Glenn Edward. And then I have a sister before me, 7 years older than me. Her name is Sharon, and I'm the baby.
Do you remember any stories your parents told you?
Well, my dad, like I said, was a man of very few words, and so he didn't talk much. He did at times talk to us about his job at Brookley Field. Once he got out of the military, he got a job at the base there working on aircrafts for the Air Force. And he would tell me stories of the big airplanes that would come and he would work on. He also got the opportunity to work on the Blue Angels airplanes back then, which I thought was really great because they are very well known here in Alabama and in Florida.
What lessons did you learn from your parents?
I learned from my dad that hard work will get you a long ways, and that when you speak, you're to speak kindly to others. And from my mom, I learned endurance. She had 4 girls, and at times that could be stressful. But she always hung in there, never gave up on us, and continued to work and take care of her home.
What are your favorite memories with them?
Most of my favorite memories are just being at home, hanging out, having parties at Christmas time. My dad loved to fish, and when he went fishing, he would, of course, bring off his catch back home, and in the backyard, he would be filleting them and skinning them and scaling them, and we would fry up fish and shrimp, and everybody would just have a good time hanging out in the backyard.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Well, I did want to share a couple of pictures of my mother and father when they were younger. So I will show the picture and tell you what they are from. This first picture is when they first met. As you see, it's very old. It's been through floods and hurricanes and everything else, but we managed to salvage it. Here, my mother was 15 and my father was 18. And that was just as he was going back off into the military after he had stayed at Brookley Field for a while. Then we have another picture here as they got a little bit older while he was still in the military, and he came back to Brookley Field again, and he and my mother had their picture made at one of the community parties on Brookley Field. And then this picture is my mother and father when they got married. They got married here locally in a little church downtown by Birdville, and it was just a few people. And back then, my grandparents couldn't afford a wedding dress for my mom, so she just wore a suit and a hat and a small veil. The last picture is at a military ball that they took before they got married. But I always love this picture because I look at the dresses from back then and the hairstyles back in the 1950s, and it just amazed me, the detail in the dresses and the military uniform. That's all.